Hello YouTube. I'm going to be reading a little excerpt from this book that I used to love as a kid. And I know that's kind of copyright infringement, but I looked it up and this book is in the public domain now, so I'm free to do a little reading. It's Growing Up with Science, Invention Edition. So I'm going to be talking about Newcomen's engine. It often happens that the person who invents or creates something is not the one who gets the credit in history books. This is true in the case of Thomas Newcomen, who invented the first workable steam engine about 50 years before James Watt. Yet, it was Watt who usually is given credit as the inventor. Newcomen earned his living as a hardware dealer in Dartmouth, England, where he was in partnership with John Calley. Being interested in inventions, he may have known about the model engine built by the French inventor Denis Papin. In Papin's drawing, the piston was moving by steam. He probably also knew about Captain Thomas Savery's water pump, which was powered by steam. Savery had patented his machine in 1678, and the patent was written using such vague wording that it seemed to cover almost every type of engine. So when Newcomen and Calley became interested in building their own engine, they went into partnership with Savery in order to avoid any trouble with the patent laws. That was in 1705. The first Newcomen engine was built in 1712 for the purpose of pumping water out of flooded mines. It was located in the coal mining area of Staffordshire, England. A drawing by the artist Thomas Barney in 1719 shows it clearly on the site. The scientific law behind Newcomen's steam engine is that when steam cools down and condenses, it becomes water again. Its volume is greatly reduced if the cooling and condensing is carried out inside a sealed container. It's called a vacuum. Newcomen made the container a large cylinder set upright at the top with a circular piston that moved up and down. The cylinder below the piston was filled with steam, which was condensed in the same container by a spray of cold water released into it. The air pressure in the vacuum forced the piston downward, and this forceful movement is called a working stroke. So, most steam engines that we know of and read of are powered by the steam pushing outward and going psh, 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 just popping. But Newcomen's engine worked in a way that was completely different. He had suction, a vacuum that pulled the piston. So the piston, in a sealed chamber, there'd be cool water sprayed in there that would cause the steam that was in there to become smaller, and the mass would be smaller, and the piston would go down. But then you're asking, how does it open up again? How the heck does that happen? Well, the answer is pretty obvious. You put the piston hooked up by a hinge to a large wheel. So when you first get it pushed out and fill it with steam, then when it pulls it back, the wheel rotates, and the wheel's big and heavy, and it rotates back the other way, pulling the piston out again and repeating the cycle, and then you've got right there a piston. And of course, most of the time when we think of steam engines, we think of trains, which were called steam engines for a long time. But steam engines can be used for anything. I mean, there's a lot of steampunk people who have steam-powered cars, and we have steam-powered boats. And Newcomen's engine, I'm not aware if it was ever used on a train, but its first use was in a mine in Staffordshire, England, to pull out water so that the miners wouldn't drown. It was a very useful invention and amazing, and we should really give Newcomen credit for it. Thank you, and have a wonderful day, YouTube.